The real Matrix is not a computer simulation. It's not a movie, nor does it have anything to do with a red pill. The real Matrix is a whitewashed perception of reality. The world is being inaccurately perceived through the whitewashed narratives of the white society. They've created a false version of reality that empowers the system of white supremacy. I never said that what I teach would be easily comprehended by most people, or by all. It will go over the heads of many that aren't ready to hear and learn the truth. I only promised that what I teach will be the black liberating truth that will free your mind from white mental slavery. It is the truth that try to keep our minds dumbed down from learning. Those who know the truth must teach African proverb. What if I told you that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the evils of slavery and unrelenting injustices of white racism, that most inventions that revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by earlier inventions made by black people? You would most likely think that I'm crazy. Whenever lies have been repeatedly fed to the masses down generational lines, the truth will always sound absolutely ridiculous, and its speaker will always sound like a raving lunatic. But I am not crazy. The white society sits upon a throne of white exalting and black marginalizing lies. Through their monopoly over information that are fed to the public, which allows them to feed false information to the masses, the white oppressors have created the perception that black people are the leeches of society that need white people in order to survive and thrive. It's the core reason for the false feelings of white racial superiority over blacks that is possessed by many whites, as well as the false feelings of internalized inferiority that's held by many black people. But the true hidden reality is that the oppressors are the parasites that needs us to survive and to thrive. This reality is concealed from the public through an elaborate perception management system. Perception management is a propaganda technique that involves altering the public perception of reality to suit the objectives of the white ruling class. Perception managements are extremely effective at distorting the public's perception of reality. This is because the public's perception of reality is not shaped based upon facts nor reality. It's actually shaped by the narratives that are repetitively fed into the society. Therefore, all that's required for distorting the public's perception of reality is to repeatedly feed false information to the public. The public's perception of reality will then become aligned with those false repeated narratives instead of the true reality. Because the white ruling class controls all of the narratives that are repetitively fed into our society, they therefore literally owns the perception of reality. Through their monopoly over information, white social engineering scientists and white propagandists constantly feeds false information into the society that falsely exalts their racial groups while falsely marginalizing black people. It's literally being done like a massive media marketing campaign that perpetually marginalizes the black brand while exalting the white brand. Doing so creates a false perception of reality that reinforces false assumptions and societal norms within the society that greatly aids in maintaining white capital and white social dominance over the black population. To restate this more clearly, they constantly feed false information to the public that distorts the public's perception of reality in ways benefiting the system of white supremacy. Your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception. To maintain white social dominance over black people, there is a perception management system in place that perpetually falsely exalts Caucasians and falsely marginalizes black people, therefore falsely bolstering the collective self-image and collective self-esteem of Caucasians at the expense of black people. Through this perception management system, they've manipulated millions to believe that most inventions come from the minds of whites and to perceive black people as being the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history. When this perception is maintained within a society, it greatly aids in maintaining white social dominance and white social capital over the black population. But the true reality is the exact opposite from what they've manipulated millions to believe. A fact that has been omitted from our whitewashed history books is that after slavery was abolished in the U.S. in 1865, beginning from 1870 through 1940, African Americans filed 726 invention patents. For a people to go directly from being enslaved, where they were denied an education, to then producing so much inventions in such a short time span is astounding. Furthermore, those numbers of patent applications submitted by African Americans more than doubled those submitted by whites during the same time frame, although African Americans then made up less than 5% of the U.S. population. The white society conceals the fact that most revolutionizing inventions came from the minds of black people by whitewashing their history books to falsely give themselves credit for most inventions made by black people. Case, point, and proof. White governed schools miseducates us to believe that Thomas Edison, a white inventor, is responsible for lighting up the world. But the true fact is that after Edison patented his light bulb, no companies purchased it, no mass produced it. This is because it was deemed not efficient enough. It lit very dimly and only lasted a few minutes. The inventor, whose light bulb was purchased by the U.S. Electric Company in 1881, then mass produced, and that was dispatched around the world to oversee its installation, was actually, in fact, an African American named Lewis Latimer. Therefore, in reality, it was actually a black man that lit up the entire world. Lewis Latimer wrote the book on electric lighting, and he holds the patent for the first electric lamp. Lewis Latimer also wrote the blueprint for Graham Bell's telephone. The white society has also miseducated us to believe that the Wright brothers are responsible for building the first aircraft in 1909. However, the hidden fact is that before the Wright brothers flew their aircraft in 1909, a black man named Charles F. Page had already invented, patterned, and flown an aircraft 3 years earlier in 1906. The white society has also miseducated us to believe that Henry Ford invented the first automobile. However, it was actually an African American inventor named Charles Richard Patterson that built the first automobile. The C.R. Patterson and Sons Company started out as a carriage building firm in 1873. He and his son converted the company from a carriage business to an automobile manufacturer. They started making automobiles before Henry Ford and sold the first one for $850. It had a 4-cylinder Continental engine. C.R. Patterson's automobiles were considered more sophisticated. However, C.R. Patterson's and Sons were forced out of business by Henry Ford in 1939. It's by deliberate design that most people are unaware of these historical facts. These facts have been deliberately expunged from public record and omitted from our whitewashed history books to create a false perception of reality that exalts whites and marginalizes us. This practice of distorting facts to falsely give whites credits for inventions that were actually invented by black people has been repeated many times throughout our entire history that we've been taught. The hidden reality is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of racism and slavery by the white society, most inventions that revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by earlier inventions made by black people. Without black people, there would exist no motors, no automobiles, no airplanes, no helicopters. Without black people, we would not have skyscrapers. We only have skyscrapers because black people invented the elevator, the fire extinguisher, the fire escape ladder, air conditioning, and heating systems, which are essential in order for people to live or work in skyscrapers. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones if it was not for black inventors. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aid, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security system, no home game cartridges, no steam engines, no traffic lights. Without black people, there would exist no refrigerators, no refrigerated trucks, therefore no ice cream trucks, no blood banks, no dry cleanings, no lawnmower, no doorknobs, no 3D movies, etc., etc. Black people have in fact enriched nearly every aspect of the lives of every person on this planet through our many inventions. It's actually the genius minds of black people that moves the world forward. By hiding this fact that most revolutionary inventions are coming from the minds of black people, and by manipulating black people to self-identify by the N-word, this conditions black people to perceive ourselves through a false inherent inferior identity that reinforces the system of white supremacy. The reality is all information that you're receiving is coming from your enemies, from your oppressors. And their objective is to maintain their dominance and control over us. So naturally, they're going to feed us lies that shapes our minds in ways that benefits the white society, shape our minds in ways that makes us think in ways that serves them. Like, for example, you see many black people walk around and says that most of our Africans were sold away. That's a narrative that the white society taught to us. So we would shift the blame onto Africans. The reason why they tell us that we're our worst enemies, it prevents us from unifying against them. Our enemies feed us lies that facilitate their long-term oppression of us. You have to elevate your mind to this reality if you truly want to free your mind from white mental slavery. One love and peace, brothers and sisters.